If I was writing a cookbook, this recipe would definitely be in it. Part 17, a super simple frittata. This one is spring style. This recipe uses up whatever's left over in your fridge, what's coming out of your garden, and what's seasonal at the grocery store. It's really good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it's easy to make. Plus, it's fun to say. To make this, you'll need eggs. I used asparagus and red onion, but you can use other veggies. You're going to need some sort of cheese and a hard cheese like a Parm or a Pecorino Romano, butter, cottage cheese, pepper, and salt. You might also need some olive oil or some like baking release spray like a Pam, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. You're going to begin by dicing up your red onion. Now, you could use a white onion or a yellow onion. You could even substitute out the white part of leeks or half a bunch of scallions, the white and the green part. That's up to you. But I like red onion. And for this one, I'm using asparagus. So I'm breaking off the tough ends of the asparagus and dicing it up. I'm saving some of those for the top, but I'm dicing up all the rest of them. And as far as veggies go, you could use whatever veggies you like. It's springtime here. This would be like really nice for maybe like an Easter brunch or something like that. So I chose to use asparagus, plus it was on sale. Next, you're going to shred the cheese that you're going to use. Now, I prefer an extra sharp cheddar if I'm going to use cheddar. You could use Monterey Jack, you use mild cheddar, not sure, whichever you like will be fine. And you also shred the Parmesan or Pecorino. You could just omit the hard cheese like the Parmesan and use more of the regular cheese. That's up to you, but I like a little bit of that extra, like flavor that Parm has. Whenever I can, I like to use my cast iron skillet, so this is a perfect recipe for that. I'm going to saute the asparagus and the onions in this, and then I'm going to bake it in the same dish or vessel. You could use a glass Pyrex if you prefer, but I'm going to use the cast iron, and that's why I need some extra olive oil at the end. In a bowl, I add my eggs and my cottage cheese and then the rest of my cheese. Now, the cottage cheese is what gives this like a nice tender kind of like custardy texture. If you ever had egg bites from Starbucks, that's like their secret ingredient is adding cottage cheese. So sometimes people would use cream or milk with their scrambled eggs, and that keeps it from getting like too rubbery, but the cottage cheese makes it taste even better, so that's my favorite one. I don't want the frittata to stick to the bottom of the cast iron. I don't think that's really a problem with glass Pyrex, at least I haven't experienced it, but I have experienced it with cast iron. So what I do is I spray a little bit of like a baking release on there or add a little bit of extra olive oil and make sure I get it like coated on the sides and stirred around the bottom. That way it doesn't get stuck to the bottom. So I'm cooking my veggies for two reasons. One is to get some caramelization on there, and that will add to the flavor. The other reason is because I want to get some of that extra moisture out of the vegetables. That way the frittata is not soggy. So I'm cooking it on medium-high heat until I get some color on those onions and I get some of that water out of the asparagus. And then I poured in the egg mixture and I stir that around so it kind of partly cooks. Like I keep stirring it for like 30 seconds or a minute. And then I put in the oven, but I forgot those asparagus spears. So I took it right back out and I put them on top. And the puppies need their asparagus butt treats. They're hound dogs, so they'll really eat anything. So they were excited about that. And then you bake it for 20-25 minutes at 375 degrees. And I took it out, I tested it for doneness, and it was perfect. And so I let it cool down for a little bit. The reason I let it cool down is because it's just a lot easier to cut. I don't want it to be cold, although you actually could eat this at room temperature. I've eaten it out of the fridge before. Both of them are delicious, but I did want to serve this warm. I just gave it like 15 minutes to sit on the counter, and because it was in cast iron, it did retain the heat for a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about how to serve this. You could serve it warm, room temperature, or cold. That's up to you. One of the things that is nice about that type of food that works at all those different temperatures is you can make it ahead of time. So we have Easter coming up here in a week, and this would be perfect for like an Easter brunch, or if you're having a bunch of people over and you want to try to find some foods that you can make ahead of time. That way you're not like babysitting the food as people are arriving. I served this a week ago when we had some family over for dinner. It was great because I was able to make it ahead of time. That way I wasn't kind of distracted when they came over. One of the people that came over for dinner was gluten free, so it's a great gluten free option. And we had this with roasted carrots with whipped feta that was so good. And maybe we had potatoes, I don't remember, but roasted potatoes would be great with this. And that whole dish would be gluten free. So that's really nice if you have somebody in your life who you're trying to cook for with dietary restrictions. You can have it with salad. You can just have it on its own. It's delicious. If you try it, I hope you like it. Have a great day.